Hey, how's everybody doing? I thought it was time for another story time video. So the first month that I was in full-time business for myself was January of 2020. A lady sends me a message and she says, "Hey, do you work on mixers?" My ex-father-in-law was a mason, so I'm thinking like concrete mortar mixer? She's like, "No, kitchen mixer." So at this point, it's cold and slow and the season hasn't kicked off and I'm like, "I'll take anything." So I'm like, "Sure, bring it up." So she shows up at the house Sunday morning when I'm closed with this old Oster mixer. I'm talking like late 60s, early 70s maybe. She said, "I don't know what's wrong with it, but I turn it on and there's this grinding noise." I said, "Well, it has screws, so that means it comes apart." So I take the top off and the drive gear controlling the beaters is cracked. So I look online and there's no parts for this thing anywhere. Even my buddies with 3D printers said they didn't think the plastic was going to be hard enough to reproduce that gear. So I messaged the lady and I'm like, "Hey, it's not looking too good for the mixer." She sounds terribly disappointed and she said, "Oh, are you sure? I would really just love to make one more cake with it." So then the daggone ego kicks in and I'm like, well, I'm going to make this thing work regardless. So I took a Dremel and ground like a 16-inch trough through the crack, creating a bevel. Then set up like a torch, steel rod, plaster weld melt thing, plaster welded it up, if you will. Then took this sweet Permatex brand plastic epoxy and coated the top of it. Put it all back together, mixer's working smooth. Just a minor click. If you put it on high speed, you hear just a little bit of deviation, but not much. I tell the lady, I say, "Hey, your mixer's ready." She comes up to the house. I turn it on, crank it up to high speed, and I look over at her. She has tears in her eyes. I'm thinking I've done something wrong. So I ask her, "What's going on?" She says, "This was the first gift my husband got me for our first wedding anniversary when we were married. He passed away 2 years ago from cancer, and I wanted to make one more cake with this mixer." Even though I was only a month into having the business a full time, that story will always stick with me.